Yo Yo what's good สบายดีคนลาว What up ฮัมจังได้ฮัมน้อย You know what I'm saying It's logo on the mic Shout to Alex Hanasakda G Bloods Talking Loud Radio You know what I'm saying What up AK Let's go Yeah Talking Loud Worldwide เป็นรายการ Radio มีแต่สาระหน้าหูที่จะเอามาโชว์ให้พวกท่านได้หูให้พวกท่านได้เห็นอันใดที่คักคนลาวก็เฮ็ดเป็น
ส่งเสียงห้องโฆษณาไปจากเมืองลาวให้พี่น้องครับผู้ที่อยู่เมืองหนาวบอกว่าจะอยู่บนใดอย่าลืมความเป็นลาวตำบักหุ่งลาบก้อยข้าวเหนียวเหล้าขาว
Yeah Make sure y'all tuning in y'all you know what I'm saying G Bruts in the house What up Alex Peace
So who's the other guy talking in the background?
What's up, everybody? That other guy is my co-host Sam. Phet.
How's it going?
So last night, well, first of all, thanks everyone. If you're tuning in, we really appreciate it. This is our second podcast, so bear with us if there's some technical difficulties. If there's a lot of stuttering going on, we're really just kind of like new to this whole thing. I've never, I was never a radio dude. But
you're not drunk either, so
yeah, true that. But overall, yeah, we had an interesting night last night. We had kind of a spontaneous guest on, Asai and his wife Kimmy, which was a really, really intense conversation with them. We're just gonna really express like I think what Sai was going through. But anyways, we are here with Iron Chef Soulaphet Schwader. No, Phet.
Yeah.
Now, how is it? Phet? Would you?
Phet.
Phet. Okay. Would you be?
Yeah, Soulaphet is part of my mom and dad's first name. So me, my brother, my sister all have the same beginning. Soulaphet, Soulatong, Soulavan.
Oh, okay. Now, where does the Schwader come in?
Short.
Is that am I
What's
saying?
That?
Where does Schwader come in? Am I saying that right?
So Schwader. So when we came over, and again, I don't know if I should just introduce myself, but whole name Soulaphet Schwader. Born outside of Vientiane, in a little village called Tangon.
Okay.
We left Laos, escaped Laos in 1977, and we were in a refugee camp, in Nong Khai for a year, and my father passed away. So then when we came over to the United States, my mom remarried, and he adopted me, my brothers, and my sister, so we took on Schwader.
Okay.
So that's where my name fucks with everybody. It's like first they can't spell the beginning of my first name, and then the Schwader. They're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And then they see me, and then they hear me, which is like, this Asian guy who has no accent whatsoever. It's like, where are you from?
Yeah. So, at first, when I came across your name, I was like, is he German? Is he Lao'd German-based dude? Or, but anyways, for the fans that are listening in, if I probably should have explained this in the beginning podcast, but if you guys don't know who Phet is, he's a really well-known Laotian chef out of New York that owns a restaurant called Khe-yo, which meaning green, correct, Phet?
What's that? Yeah, it's the way we say green.
Khe-yo. Okay.
But again, it's one of those things where me and my partner were debating over names for about a month, and I was like, listen, no matter who it is, everybody's going to fuck up the name. So it doesn't matter. I like the way it looked and the way, with the K and everything else. Yeah. So we just stuck with that. So
yeah, names are really tough, man. Like I'm the worst at coming up with a name. I came up with Mama's Egg Rolls, and that kind of just, I was like, fuck it. I'm done trying to figure this out. So we're just saying it that. But yeah.
Again. No, go ahead.
I just, I'm inspired by your work, dude. Like, I'm really excited to have you on the show for sure. I've been, it's humbling having you respond to us and wanting to do the show, man. So we really appreciate it from us in the Lao community. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, for me, like, and and again, it goes back to my background. Like, I grew up in Wichita, and obviously there's a pretty good Lao community all in the Midwest. So I had the best of both worlds growing up. It was, I grew up with the Lao culture and my mom making Lao food all the time, but then I was kind of the only Asian kid in my grade school, middle school, high school. So I got like that I guess Midwest suburban, middle class upbringing, and like it really gave me a sense of who I am from the West. Like, everybody says, like, again, people that are from the Midwest are like, I don't want to be associated with this, but I'm like kind of proud to be from the Midwest because it's hardworking, decent people out there, like in the Midwest. It's not pretentious. It's the way my mom raised me was work hard, put your head down, be humble.
Yeah, definitely.
So, that's the principle that I've had in my career, and I've had a pretty good drive in what I want to do, and luck, timing, making the most of all the opportunities that come your way, which is again, the American dream. And I think as someone who's Laotian, who's still, I consider myself American too, because I was so young when I came here, that I get the best of both worlds.
So take us. Like, oh, I'm sorry. This is Sam. How's it going? So take us through, like, just your basic childhood, any schooling, or just what inspired you with food, or,
Yeah, I mean, growing up, again, like, I loved, having, actually, let's take it back. Growing up and being the only Asian kid in my grade school and kindergarten and high school, like, if we went on field trips, my mom would make banh mi, or she would make me khao neo and tin hang to take to these fucking lunches, like to the zoo and stuff. And I'd be fucking embarrassed. Like, I'd be like, Mom, like, why can't I get fucking peanut butter and jelly? Why can't I get the ham and cheese sandwich? She's like, this is what we have in the house. This is what you're gonna take. I'm like, okay. So like, growing up, like, I always, and like, barak, or like the gang with the pork intestines, and then like make the house stink for like 3 days.
Yeah.
I'd be embarrassed to have like my friends come over, because I'm like, dude, they're gonna fucking.
That's funny you say that.
Like, what the fuck is that smell?
I went to the same stuff, bringing a friend over, and it'd be like a pile of flesh on the counter table.
Yeah. And like we'd eat pho and with all like the puck and everything, and my friends would be like, yo, why you guys got so much, like, what is all these greens? Like you guys are eating weed. And like, I'd be like, this is the way we eat our stuff. And then like, now looking back, it's just like, we were lucky, because it's like, we had a different culture from the typical meat and potatoes kind of, meal that like people grew up with in the Midwest.
Right.
So that kind of, when I left, growing up, when I left, high school, and went out on my own, and, college, whatever, I missed my mom's food, so I started cooking, for my friends and everything else. And obviously I didn't know I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. And, for the first, I guess, 4 or 5 years out of high school, it was like, let's party, let's get fucked up, let's enjoy life. But, I wasn't really doing good at school, but I ended up in kitchens. And, the kitchens that I did work at, the chefs saw potential in me, and I was like, they're like, maybe you should think about culinary school and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm too serious, whatever.
Yeah.
But then I looked around and I saw all the line cooks that I worked with were all alcoholics. They were all like 30 years old. I was like 20 years old. I'm like, dude, I don't want to end up like those guys. So like, I ended up going to culinary school in Vermont. Something which is, I'd never been to the East Coast. My girlfriend at the time was getting her master's in New York. So I decided after culinary school just to check out New York City. And that was like 99. So,
wow.
It's one of those things where cooking is, everybody, and today everybody thinks, like, since they see people on TV and the reality cooking shows, that it's like easy to be a chef. I'm like, dude, I've been cooking for 20 years, and it takes a lot of hard work, dedication, but practical use in your craft of what you do. And I just ended up being really lucky in the fact that I worked with a lot of chefs lot of good chefs in the city, and I made really good connections, and I didn't burn
That's
any
great,
bridges.
man.
And
now, can you tell
really,
us your relation with Iron Chef Mark Forgione?
Yeah, so actually, a couple years after I moved to the city in '99, I was working with this chef, Khe-yo. We called her a little dragon because she was like this little Chinese Malaysian chef.
Nice.
And she was a force to be reckoned with in the kitchen. She would make you feel like shit if you fucked up.
Jeez.
It was like you were living under fear, and that fear makes you think about every little thing that you do. And I mean, it made me better because that fear pushed me to really be on point with how to set up my station, be on point with, making sure, my seasoning is correct, making sure the temperatures are correct, because again, I didn't want to get yelled at.
Right.
And she ended up getting 3 stars from the New York Times a month after I came. And it was like one of those holy shit moments where I better step up. So, we did that. She ended up opening another restaurant, and Mark came along. And he came along as a line cook. If you guys don't know his backstory, his father, Larry Forgione, is considered like the godfather of American cooking. He coined the term free range chicken.
Wow.
His dad was doing stuff in the early '80s that was, that's the norm now. Going to local farms and getting, and talking to them and having them grow local stuff for the restaurants. Before it was all, delivered by big grocery companies and everything else. And, his dad kind of, started this whole, farm to table kind of movement.
Wow.
So he's had to live, under his dad's reputation for a long time. But, with Mark, we ended up cooking together. He ended up going to France for a year. We ended up living together for a couple of years. He became the chef de cuisine at BLT Steak, and I went right after him being his sous chef, and then I ended up opening BLT Steak in DC in 2006, and we just ended up opening restaurants together, and it got to that point where in our career where it was we were kind of tired of working for other people, making the money, because we really cared about what we did. So he ended up opening his restaurant in, I think, 2007 or 8.
Okay.
And again, I was floating around helping friends open restaurants and, looking for that next step. And, I just realized at one point that, I didn't want to work for anybody else anymore.
Yeah.
So in 2010, I quit my job because I helped my friend open a couple restaurants. And, he looked at me, he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, dude, I want to open a restaurant. He's like, let's do it.
Nice. Wow.
This is after he won, Iron Chef. He got a Michelin star. And he's one of those guys where in this business, it's really hard. It's really rare to find people that are creative, that are, again, unpretentious, because there's a lot of pretentious chefs out there, because it's definitely ego driven.
I get that vibe a lot. I work with some chefs right now, but they're not they're pretentious chefs, but very actually nice people, but very rare that I come by that.
Yeah, and it's for me, it's I'm just lucky that he's my friend, because he's really, I've always supported him. If he's ever needed help, he's like, Pat, I need your help. I'm like, I'm there.
Yeah, you know what's funny, Pat? On one of his Iron Chef shows, he made a tamakung. Now, was that inspired by you then?
Yeah.
That's fucking fresh, dude. I was like, what? He's really making
tamakung? Yeah. We, he's, again, and this is what really good friends and good chefs do. We work off of each other, and we bounce ideas off of each other. So it's one of those things where, Mark is super talented, and he's a rock star, but he's super fucking humble too. Yeah. So which is one Pat, of those rare qualities.
Yeah, so I grew up here in the Midwest as well, and I think we have similar story and background and stuff. And introducing the Lao taste to Americans and stuff, I think we all have a story where we gave them kaunio sticky rice, and they love it. All my friends, Yeah. So what is your style, or is it some sort of Asian fusion, or which angle do you come with when you try to introduce unique stuff to them?
you know, to be honest, like when I was opening the restaurant, you know, the whole thing was, you know, do I charge for sticky rice or do I not give sticky rice? Because, you know, like if they came to my restaurant and they didn't have sticky rice, would that be a Laotian experience?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, you know, we all, like me, Mark, we all sat down and, you know, we ended up basically, you know, doing, and this is the way we say it at the restaurant, is that like when you order, you're going to get a free round of sticky rice on us with gel som and with gel makua.
Wow.
So it's like our bread and butter. It's like a bread and butter service at an
Yeah,
Italian
yeah.
restaurant.
That's a
So
brilliant
it's like,
idea.
you know, and for me that was, you know, that was a way to introduce people to Laotian cuisine, because, you know, people are like, the first question is always, what's Laotian cuisine?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, if you've had Thai food, you've had Laotian food.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to
So-
talk to you about too, Phet. Can you explain to our listeners that aren't familiar with Laotian food the difference between Lao food and versus Thai food?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the Thai people have taken a lot of credit for a lot of our dishes.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I think that's why you're seeing now kind of this revival or this new terminology of northern Thai food, which
Yeah.
is to me considered Laotian because it's Laos.
Yeah, like the Isan region is pretty much predominantly Laos people, right? And then
Yeah,
the
which
Cornington,
which again, you know, like, you know, I always say the difference, you know, with Laotian food and Thai food is that sticky rice being the main component, but we always have a lot of different gels when we're eating. You know, gel som, gel ball,
yeah.
you know, gel head, you know, gel bee, like all these different things that differentiate us. But then at the same time, like, you can't really say, you know, there's maybe a couple super traditional, authentic Lao dishes like Nam Khao
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
or Sin Heng, but there's a lot of cultures that have jerky as
Right.
part of their culture. So what's authentic? And
Yeah.
that's one of those questions where I tell Laotians that come in, I'm like, I don't like the fact that people think my restaurant is Laotian, because I've cooked different food for the last 15 years.
Mm.
In the last 5 or 6 years or so, like, you know, I started thinking about like how I wanted people to look at my restaurant. If you come in and you look at the menu, you're going to see maybe 75 to 80% of stuff that you recognize as Laotian.
Yeah.
The other 25% is stuff that's local, stuff that you typically couldn't get in Laos, but again, it's stuff that I like cooking.
Right,
so like,
right.
you know, one of my most popular menu items is like this little side dish of crispy fried Brussels sprout leaves with sweet chili fish sauce and pickled chili.
Damn,
Is that
wow.
Laotian? No. Is it good? Yes. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't want to be relegated to cooking one style of food. You know, if I see something in the green market, which again, I shop, you know, Saturdays on the weekends and whenever they're available, I want to be able to utilize what's in the market. And, you know, if it's not a traditional Laotian ingredient,
Yeah.
I don't want to be held to, I can't use that.
Yeah.
So it's
For
like,
sure.
you know, I try to give, and fusion is like, to me, almost like a dirty word, because it's like, we're all integrated somehow in some way, you know,
Right.
cause I work with a lot of Hispanic people, Latinos. So, you know, our version of gel som is their salsa verde,
Exactly.
except that they
Yeah.
don't use fish sauce.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's so many different similarities between a lot of cultures that it's like, what's authentic? You know, and
Yeah.
again, pho, like, we grew up eating pho, but the way I eat pho at home is, you know, we eat it with kapi
Yep.
and you know, magpet dong and wulapa, magtua, like,
Yeah.
gel, you know, like, and you know, I do, gel patim with kiep mo.
Oh.
You know, and I know that to me that's Laotian for me,
Yeah.
because that's how we grew up eating it. You know, Vietnamese people, they see us putting sugar in, they're like, that's Laotian.
Now, what do you
So
think
it's
about
kinda
that whole pho broth thing? Like, you know, back to going what you were saying. Like, Laotians like to dress their pho up a lot with a lot of
Yeah.
condiments. Now, where the Viet's more like really based off the broth, essentially, correct?
Yeah. But again, I say to each his own.
Yeah.
You know, like I like fucking making my, you know, again, you know, me, my brother, my sister, my mom, we all made the pho differently. My mom would put suyu in hers. You know, my sister
wow.
would be just she didn't want to fuck with this. She was like Vietnamese. She just wanted just the broth clean.
Right.
Like I like hoisin and sriracha. Like I almost like a balance. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, there's no wrong way to eat food. And I try to tell people here at the restaurant too, like there's certain ways to eat things. Like, you know, we do almost like a panpa. But again,
dude, I saw your panpa. You're like,
if people don't want to use the lettuce, I'm not going to force them. I'm like, there's no wrong way to eat it.
Yeah.
Like you can eat it however you want. If you just want to eat the fish and not touch the sauces and the lettuce,
right.
that's up to you. You kind of lose out in the idea of what we do, but you know, again, you know, it's up to the people. So
yeah, I saw your panpa, man. That's some high end panpa, dude. Like, aren't you using like sea bass with the panpa?
Yeah, it's like a whole fried fish, you know. And,
yeah.
and again, we gel magnat, which is like a pineapple tamarind sauce, you know, and you know, the gel. The regular gel that you eat with the spring rolls and stuff. And again, like, you know, the way I differentiate myself is just to try and make things that I remember that I love growing, like eating. Mika tea, you know, and again, is Mika tea really close to khao soi?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, or kapun.
But like, is Mika tea Laotian? Is it Thai? Is it like, what is it? Like, how do you know?
Right.
So it's kind of, you know, when I cook, I'm always like, if it tastes really fucking good, and if it's something that I want to eat, it's probably what other people are gonna want to eat too.
Yeah, speaking.
Am I gonna make everybody happy? No, not at all whatsoever.
Right. Speaking of flavors, you know, we like stuffs, you know, like that are bitter, you know, kom. Like, is that something that could be introduced? Is there a niche for that, or does that turn off, you know, your audience?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, again, there's a niche for everything. It's more to me how you market yourself. It's more to me how you present yourself, because, you know, you know, when Laotians come in to eat at my restaurant, I'm very aware of what they're doing, because again, I want to make them happy, but at the end of the day, I know I'm not going to make everybody happy.
Okay.
Konara are pretty critical though too, you know what I mean? Like, unfortunately.
Yeah, but you know, I would say 90% have been super supportive.
That's
the other
good.
ones that have written Yelp reviews and stuff, I'm like, you know, the Yelp reviews are like, hey, your restaurant's really expensive. Lao food's not supposed to be expensive. I'm like, okay, open a fucking restaurant in Tribeca,
right.
charge $3 for fucking an entree, and see how long you're gonna fucking be open for.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you have to adapt to where you're at. You know, if my prices are a little expensive, it's because, again, I gotta stay in business.
Yeah,
so,
well, that and it sounds like you're really aware of using fresh ingredients and how Laos
I
food
mean,
really
and
is,
again,
too.
it's about the product too. I use really, really, really good products. So it's like, I'm not using, you know, IBP, and, you know, like, again, I'm not using like XL beef, like, I'm sourcing it from places, and not that there's nothing wrong with this XL beef, but it's like, you know, that's why prices can be cheaper if you're using, you know, a certain brand. But again, like, you know, I really like being able to use good product, and it makes a difference. Like, you can come to the restaurant and have my pho.
Yeah.
You know, I'm using oxtail, like all these stuff that has like really good marbling, and like,
nice.
You know, it's not your normal run of the mill meat.
Now, when did you start getting all this attention your way, Phet? Like, when did you start? I mean, you kind of just blew up overnight, and like, next thing you know,
I mean, it was
everywhere.
because of Mark. You know, like the thing with Mark was that, you know, he was an Iron Chef, and you know, he was again had a Michelin star, and he's a partner here.
Yeah.
You know, and he's the type of person that goes out to the dining room and shakes hands, you know, kisses the babies. He's like, everybody wants to take pictures with him, and I'm like, that's perfectly fine, dude, because I'm the opposite. I want to be in the kitchen. I want to make sure the shit's right. I want to make sure like the food tastes good. So, you know, it was a buzz that he was opening a Laotian restaurant, and then the fact that, again, it goes back to like everybody was saying it's the first Laotian restaurant.
Mm.
I happen to be a chef, I happen to be Laotian, and I happen to be opening a restaurant. So that's kind of where that buzz came of like, you know, oh wow, like we want to like go check this place out.
Right.
You know, and again, like I've been in this business long enough to know that it's like, you know, it's not about the hype, because there's always going to be hype when you have chefs like Mark or whoever in the ring with you. It's more about just providing good service, good food, in a good environment. Keeping people coming back, which, you know, that's my goal. Like, I don't need to be on TV. I don't need to be the best fucking Laotian chef ever. Like, I just want to have a good fucking solid business where people are happy to come in and eat and fucking, and I can enjoy my life a little bit too. So
yeah, definitely. Hey, real quick, Pat. A lot of people also don't know when I talked to you before this podcast last week, you actually were a really good soccer player. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I love the game.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, I actually still play on a league right now. But I mean, it's one of those things where, when I get on the field, it just takes all my stress away. I'm comfortable. Like, it's definitely a stress reliever, and I love the fucking game. Like, we don't have TVs in my restaurant,
yeah.
But when the World Cup comes on, we put a TV in the kitchen.
Nice.
So, like, everybody's watching the World Cup, like, whenever it's on.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I grew up. Again, we had actually the funny story is that, like, when Laotians come in and they meet me for the first time, they're like, "Hey, where'd you grow up?" And like, I'm like, "I grew up in Wichita, Kansas." They're like, "Oh shit, I grew up in like Ohio or Nebraska or Texas." And I always tell them, like, there was a Lao traveling soccer team that we'd go up to like Minnesota and play in that big tournament up there. We'd go to like, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Texas, like Amarillo to go play. So it was like, all Con Lao, like, Lao teams. We'd stay at people's houses that we didn't know, but, they'd take us in because it's the Lao way to do things.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Now, is there a Laotian community in Brooklyn? Is that
I mean, there's not, a big Laotian, like, again, the funny thing is when I moved here in 99, the first Laotian that I met was when I opened the restaurant, which is the crazy thing. So it's like,
that's pretty odd.
There's I think a Vat in Connecticut. There's like a Vat that's a Thai here in Queens, but there's not really a Laotian community. We're actually getting together to do a fundraiser in December for the unexploded bombs in Laos.
Oh, wow.
And we're getting actually the Lao people together. So like people our age like are getting together and we're creating committees and seeing what we can do to help out.
That's awesome, man. Wow.
So it's really, again, I'm very lucky that I've had this restaurant to be able to bring people together and to hopefully, again, to give people a good experience, which, some the Laotians that come here, they're like, holy shit, like you serve Teen Hang at Chowbong. Like, yeah, like why wouldn't I? Like that's the shit I grew up with. Like that's the shit I love. So it's like,
right.
Why wouldn't I do that? Like I make bun ba, and again, my mom.
You serve bun ba at your restaurant too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, my mom was like, "Are you gonna put badak in?" I'm like, "Mom, yes, I'm gonna put badak in the tamakong. I'm gonna because like she's scared. She wanted to white it, like she wanted to water it down for the white people, and I'm like, no, like they want the funk. They want all these things that we grew up eating. We shouldn't be scared. And again, one of the things that's happened is that people are opening up Laotian restaurants now.
Yeah.
Which again should be the way it is because. Why, if you're Laotian, you're going to open a Thai restaurant? Like, right.
Well, I think that's why you're so important. You kind of made Laotians come out of the closet and be like, hey, we don't have to be considered Thai.
Yeah.
In the food, because there's a lot of Laotians that open restaurants that say it's a Thai restaurant and they do like, the cliche pad Thai and
I understand. I understand that fear of like, fuck, that people are going to be scared of what they're going to, what they're going to be getting into, but I'm like, I tell people too, I'm like, if you've had Thai food, you've had Lao food. Yeah. We just need to market our things that we love, coconut rice, like Nam Khao.
Yeah.
Like, how do you explain this? My way is coconut rice balls, crunchy coconut rice balls, kaffir lime sausage, and it's like the way you market it, the way you show it, it's like, the way you do it. And again, Teen Hang, mine's really simple. Beef jerky, jailbong, and a little bit of fresh radish.
Have you
a nice dish?
Have you marketed Kai Luke yet?
No, not yet.
Well, on your show, on the Munchie show, you were eating some, weren't you?
Was it?
Yeah. But that was at a Filipino restaurant.
Okay. Yeah.
But again, like, I'm open to do anything for to promote the Lao culture too. So it's kind of, you know, and I'm still learning. Like, I've been cooking for 20 fucking years, but like, I've only been cooking Lao food for the last 2 or 3. Like, growing up, my brother and my mom cooked Lao food. Like, my brother still makes the best, you know, tamakong.
Yeah.
You know, I was the one cleaning the dishes and everything else. So, you know, again, like, I still need to know how to make, you know, gang nomai.
Yeah.
And mokpa. You know, but, you know, making it at home and making it in a restaurant are 2 different things. So it's kind of trying to translate, you know, how we do it at home to how we can make it work in a restaurant setting. Because again, like, you know, my mom was always like, you know, I asked questions about how to make recipes, and my mom's like, you know, should we put in this? I'm like, yes, we should fucking put it in the way you make it, Mom, is the way we're going to try and do it. I'm just going to tweak it for the restaurant.
Yeah. So how does your mother, how is she, you know, how is she taking this all in with your success as a pretty well-known chef right now?
Again, like, we're living the fucking American dream. Like, I you know, I see pictures of you and your son and like your house is like by the river or something crazy like that. It's like, you know, thinking about, cause, you know, I went back for the first time in 2010 to Laos before I opened the restaurant, because I'm like, I can't open a restaurant that's going to be considered Laotian and not go back and see where I came from.
Wow.
So, you know, I didn't know what to expect. You know, my mom didn't want me to go. I was 35 years old. I'm like, Mom, I'm fucking going. Like, I'm going by myself. Like, she's like, no, you can't. Because, again, she was afraid that, like, you know, people were going to ask me for money and they're going to look at me like I'm the rich American kid that, you know, whatever. And I'm like, you know, I just want to go see where I came from and see, like, you know, like who I am.
What was your experience over there? Like,
what's that?
Did you get that, a little bit of that? Like, you're the rich American Laotian that went over there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But again, you know, I'm like, I didn't have a lot of money when I went. I'm like, Mom, if I meet family that I like, that I can help, I'm gonna try and help them however I can. But whatever money I have, whatever money I have. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
You know, like, and the fortuitous thing is that, and this is another story you guys probably won't believe, but you can check it out because I'll send you the email. So, my father passed away in a refugee camp. You know, and that was one of those things where my identity was like, you know, who's my dad? Like, I'd always ask my mom, like, you know, how was he? Like, what was my dad like and everything? And she was like, he was a great soccer player. Like, he, you know, like all these different stories, but like, he got sick, he passed away. So we never kind of knew how he passed away, like what happened. So he was buried close to the refugee camp in Nong Khai. We lost track of his grave. We lost track of the vat that was there. Like, everybody was saying, like, the vat no longer existed because it got bulldozed for new housing or stuff.
Wow. So
when I went back in 2010, and this goes back to people asking me for money, and I'll try it and keep it together. But so it was my aunt's sister was living in Nong Khai, so she was showing me around in Vientiane. So we crossed the border to Laos, and they took me to the village where I was born. I met like in-laws and stuff, like people that looked exactly like my uncle. I'm like, holy shit, you're my uncle.
Wow.
I've never met you, you know, but like you look exactly like my uncle back in Kansas. And it was one of those things where you know, when I was coming back from Laos and crossing back into Thailand, they wanted me to stay with them, and I'm like, no, because they were you know, again, I was going there to eat, so I'd pay for like all the food and everything else, but they started asking me for money, and I didn't want to stay with them, so I had my wife find me like a hotel or whatever. She found a resort on the outskirts of Nong Khai. It just been built like less than a year, so I was literally one of only 2 people staying there at the time. And the owner, who was hanging out or something, ended up being the mayor of Nong Khai. And he asked me, like, who are you? And I'm like, you know, I told him my name. I told him, like, what I was doing. He didn't think I was Laotian because, obviously, again, it goes back to, like, my accent. And I can barely speak Lao. Like, I can understand it. But, again, like, you know, if you don't have, you know, the Lao society around you, and you're not, like, you know, speaking it, you kind of lose it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I ended up staying there, and because again the relatives were asking me for money, I'm like, dude, I don't got any more money. Like,
Yeah.
I can't fucking stay with them. So he was like, you know what? Like, I told him the background. We stayed in a refugee camp for a year. He's like, listen, the refugee camp that was here was like 500 yards away.
Wow.
I'm like, holy shit. So like, the couple of days that I stayed there, and again, I'm not super fucking like religious. Like I don't really pray or whatever, but like, dude, I felt like a presence at the resort that I was staying at.
Wow.
And I wrote it down in my diary, like something like I felt something, and I felt like it was like my father's spirit. So I came home after the trip, and I told my mom about my feeling or whatever. I told my wife too, and they're like, holy shit, like that sounds crazy. So it made me think about the next time when I go to Laos to visit that I want to look for his grave. So, I went by myself the first time, and, again, I could understand and I could, get along, with basic stuff, but I couldn't interact with people because, like, in the language. And, even my mom still had a hard time the second time we went, like, talking with people, because it's like you get so accustomed to the American way of speaking Lao. It's a lot faster when you're in Laos.
Yeah.
So the next time I went, we had this whole 18-day trip planned out. We're going to Luang Prabang first, and then Vientiane for a couple of days. Then, I decided to stay in Nong Khai for a couple of days because I wanted to look for my father's grave. Because the first time I couldn't ask enough questions. So this next time around, the second time we went, which is probably a year and a half ago, 2 years, it was me and my mom, and, the restaurant had already been open, and it was more like I told myself when I opened the restaurant, I want to go back every year just for inspiration, just to get a sense of, me, who I am, who we are. So we ended up staying at the exact same resort that I stayed at. But this time, when we crossed the border from Laos into Thailand, I told my mom to ask the cab driver about this vat that she thought, my dad's grave was at. And the guy was like, I don't know that vat, but there's a vat that's literally 200 yards away from the resort you're staying at. So like, he drove us past the entrance, which was like 100 yards in. And literally, we got in that Wednesday night, and we decided that Thursday morning to get up and go to the vat and ask around to see if anybody knew about, my dad's grave. We ended up going to the vat, speaking with the monk. He was like washing his robes, and he was like, we asked him about, Tong Savan Vile Tong, and he was like, I don't know that name, but all the old graves are over on this side. So you know how there's like tombstones for your relatives when they pass, because you get cremated and then they put you in a jar.
Yep.
We ended up like cleaning off like 5 or 6 really, really old like tombstones. Some of them like the names had been worn off. Some of them were just a jar of bones. Like some of them, like the overgrowth was like all like grown over it. I'm like, fuck, we're never like, there's no way we're gonna find like my dad's grave. But like, it ended up being like the last grave we came to. Like his name was like almost 80% gone. Wow. It was like the first part of his name, and then kind of like the year etched out of like the year that he passed, which is like 78. And we were looking at each other like, there's no way this could be it. Like, there's no way we just like stumbled upon this. Like, just thinking that we're like, and me and my mom were just gonna go to the vat just to ask around to see if anybody knew. We weren't expecting anything, but we ended up finding his tombstone, taking his bones out, cleaning it, and doing like the traditional ceremony. And like, I wanted my brother and my sister to be there to be a part of this. And the monk was like, listen, he's been here for over 30 years. No one's come to his grave to take care of it. Like, it's time for his spirit to go. So what they typically do is take your relative's bones, and there's a fallen temple in the middle of the Mekong River in Nong Khai. And they take it, and you do like you take a boat with the monk, and you go around 3 times around this like fallen fucking temple in the middle of the fucking river.
That's crazy.
And you dump your bones, your relative's bones, to like free the spirit. So we ended up doing this in the span of 3 hours. Like, we got there in the morning at like 9, it took us about 45 minutes to like end up finding his grave. And then, we got this monks and all these people together to like come and do the ceremony to release his spirit. And like afterwards we were like, holy fuck, like that just fucking happened.
Yeah. That's
like,
a crazy story, man. Holy shit.
And the crazy thing is I have it on video.
Wow.
Like it's like unfucking believable. Like I just, I'm actually in the November issue of Condé Nast Traveler, and it talks about, that whole experience. And it's just like,
you fucking make a movie out of that story, man.
It goes back to though, like, just being humble and just being like, things happen for a reason. Me opening up this Laotian restaurant, if you call it Laotian, I guess.
Yeah.
It's about timing. It's about, doing the right thing. And I don't know if you're in the restaurant business at all, but like, dude, the restaurant business is pretty fucking cutthroat. And it's like, everybody's out for themselves. And I told myself, I'm like, look, my Lao culture, is my mom's always taught me to be humble and be respectful. So like, I'm not going to make everybody happy, but I hope that Laotians that do come into Khe-yo have a good time. I know not all of them are going to enjoy it, or not all of them are going to be like, yo, this is whack. This is not Laotian. And like, that's okay. It hurts me when I hear comments and see shit like written about it. But at the end of the day, it's like, I try to take care of the community that's helped me get to where I'm at now, which is, the Laotian community. So it's like,
people are just
for me to
haters,
do this
man.
podcast,
for
me to do this podcast is, dude, it's never a fucking issue, because like, I want to help out whoever I can, especially if they're Laotian. Cause it's like, the biggest thing when you go to Laos too, is when you're talking with people, they call you I. Like you're considered a brother. Like, even if you've never met someone. So it's kind of like, and that was always the way of growing up too. Like if we went to a soccer tournament and we didn't know anybody in the fucking city that we went to, but, we knew one or two people, like they would let us into their house and fucking consider us like family and like, take care of us. And that to me is something that, I try and do with food. Is like, again, we grew up poor. So like my mom would always be like, if people come over, even if we don't have anything, we make sure we have food for them. So it's like, that's a big thing of me trying to get back to like, to help, like karma. Karma is a big thing. So.
Right. Wow, that's a fascinating ass story, Pat. We could go on and on, man. I could hear you talk about everything for a while. But time is running up right now. I mean, I know you got to get going. You said 40 minutes or so. But dude, hey man, I really fucking appreciate you coming on, dude, and taking your time. You're a huge inspiration to me.
Yeah, inspiring story.
Inspiration to, I'm sure a lot of kids out there that are listening and hopefully will be listening, that in some way or form you could really just inspire them to, do their own thing, which is fucking.
And people have come up to me and asked me, and again, like, they want to open up a restaurant. I'm like, yeah, do it. Fucking do it. Like, there's, we have one life to live. Like, it's great if you have restaurant experience, because if you don't, I'd say don't do it. Because it's not, it takes a lot of fucking guts and organization and knowledge to be able to be successful in this business. But if you have a fucking dream of wanting to do something, and it's hard for me to consider myself an immigrant, but I am. Like you are. Like, you were born in Laos, right? So it's like, you're like, we're immigrants, but we're living the American dream. Like we can be whatever we want to be. So it's kind of like, I tell people, I'm like, dude, just do it. Take that risk and make it work, because you're never going to know. So, it's not all fun and games either. There's a lot of fucking hard work involved, and my mom has seen it, and she's like, I couldn't do what you do.
Yeah.
It's like, it's insane what I end up doing. But at the end of the day, I'm fucking lucky, dude. I wake up thinking, hey, I can cook this Laotian dish that my mom made. Try and create it for the restaurant.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't, even when life is hard, even when the restaurant's not busy, even when, like, there's so many different hurdles that I'm like, my mom, again, she lost her first husband. Jesse, my stepdad, where I got Schwader, he passed away when I was 8.
Wow.
And I considered him like my real father. He's like my first father figure.
Yeah.
And then, my mom remarried in 97. He just passed away a couple years ago. So, my mom's been through a lot of shit, and it's like, as hard as my life ever gets, like, I can never, be down, because I'm like, dude, my mom's had it fucking worse. She's had to raise 3 kids, being an immigrant, working 2 jobs to like get, and she never said no to me growing up, playing soccer, going on traveling trips, doing anything. Like, she always gave me the opportunity to do what I want. So it's kind of like, I look at myself and I'm like, we're immigrants, but the Lao community, the Lao identity is coming. People are starting to notice us now. So it's kind of like, if we have opportunities to open up businesses and things that can showcase Laotian culture, why not? Like,
absolutely.
Why not? So,
hey man, you gotta get a cookbook out there. That's what I want.
Yeah, that'll be the next thing.
So yeah, let's bounce some recipe ideas back and forth. I need your sakak recipe, man, a sausage. I'm trying to produce one, and it's not really working. But hey, Pat, man,
sausage?
Yeah.
I mean, again, like, we can talk later, but there's always little tricks and trades.
For sure, man.
But yeah, let me go. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
I really, whatever endeavor you guys are doing too, I'll always support you guys. So.
I appreciate it, man. And let's do this again. And if you're ever in Wisconsin, dude, you got a place to stay, and we could break bread.
Absolutely. And listen, if you guys ever come to New York City, you guys actually have a place to stay and some good food to eat.
I really appreciate that, brother.
Right.
Everyone, that's Chef Phet, man. Go check him out. Doing big things for the Laotian community. Well, I appreciate it, Phet. Well, we'll talk to you soon, man.
Take care, guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, yeah. So, wow, I didn't know half the things he was talking about. Like, I just knew him as this icon in the Laotian world of being a chef, and I'm into food myself. So, by tracking this guy down was like a really big goal of mine to get him on the show, just to hear what he has to say about his restaurant and what inspired him.
And it's good to know that he like grew up like us too.
Really, yeah. I mean,
not much difference, and just
there's not too many people that, because a lot of Laos people got kind of thrown in the hoods, in the darkest pockets of America. And I'm not saying we're fortunate, but we grew up different. I mean, we grew up in a white America, I had a weird upbringing though too, because I was back and forth, but everything he was saying, like, I totally related with, man, going on field trips and my bag smelling like badak or whatever fucking shit my mom had in the fridge. I remember one time my soda smelled like shit because my mom, she had JLB. She made some JLB open in the fridge. I was in 4th grade, man, and everyone was like, what the fuck is that smell? It was like in the back. I'm like, oh, fuck, they know it's my shit. Like, it's gotta be my shit, man. It smells like ass. But yeah, all the stories he was sharing, dude, like, holy cow. A lot in common for sure. And I hope people could really just be inspired by what Chef Phet was saying and ultimately what he did, man. The guy has done a lot. Wow. So yeah, everyone, thank you for listening, man, and I really appreciate it. And we hope to see you next time. Next week we have the Big Lao. So stay tuned for that.